recording.
Hello, trustees. Let's recap and expand on the overview of the Campus Administrative Staffing Initiative that we provided you at last week's closed session. In this update, this is going to include the latest information as well as responses to your specific request. You will also find more detailed information in the accompanying report. And when you click through the links that it includes, you'll see specific details that pertain to your individual single member districts. Now, as an overview to our update today, we want you to know that we've organized the information in the same 5 major topics that we discussed in closed session: values, services, process, positions, and support. We are striving for consistency and transparency in this process, not just with you, but with our principals, with our staff. And as we work through these important changes, we want to make sure that everyone is on the same page as we talk about how we're allocating resources to our schools. We started with the values, and from our discussion with you, the principals and our staff, we have anchored all of our work in some very basic values. The values that we looked at included reducing campus funding inequities. And as a reminder, that's the problem that arises when small schools receive a much greater share of resources per pupil than our largest and most economically impacted schools. The values also are ensuring that we target resources to schools, families, and students who need them. We're also keeping budget cuts away from the classroom. We need to remember that this year's changes to staffing guidance have been confined to administrative staff and do not affect instructional staff. Any changes this year in instructional staff, either up or down, are the result of changes in campus enrollment. We want to make sure that we're giving our schools the autonomy they need to best meet their individual community needs. You're looking now at a list of all services that come with running a school. In addition to what you're seeing, we've also made it very clear to all principals that we expect them to offer the full set of services outlined on this slide. When we offer them autonomy, it is autonomy to staff on how they deliver these services. It's not to choose whether or not they will deliver the services. In the work with human capital and with instructional superintendents, we have told the principals we expect them to account for how they provide these services, not only by documenting them in their strategic plans, but also having the capacity and ability to answer tough questions from stakeholders, from others, if it's not clear on how they're going to cover these services. I can tell you that as someone who participated in these discussions, I can say that one outcome that we've already seen from our principals has been a greater sense of ownership of the budget decisions on their campus than in past years. Excuse me. The changes in the administrative staff that you're seeing are changes that the staff is making, the principals are making. They're not ones that are delivered from top down by central office. Next, you're going to look at the process. And so, we've been meeting with principals since early January. Principals, district leaders, we've had multiple layers of discussion and planning. Because we feel that it's necessary to give as much advance notice to affected staff as possible, we directed our principals to begin discussing their staffing recommendations with their campus advisory councils, or CACs, prior to spring break. Now, we know that as we had discussion with you about our CACs, you wanted to give us an update on what kind of feedback and who held the meetings. And as you can see here, here's the latest information. The vast majority of campuses reported having held the required CAC meeting. Our feedback from principals, teachers, and even from the Alliance, who we, of course, have been in contact with, point to the fact that some campuses did a better job than others, and we recognize that. We're self-reflecting on that. One future focus that we're going to have is developing some consistent and effective engagement of our CACs at each campus. Tony Thompson has already been charged with leading an effort to provide ongoing professional development to all CACs across the district. Looking at positions more specifically, we did share with you some global overviews. So all staffing adjustments and funding sources were considered in the staffing process. So far, we have already seen this formula has created $1.1 million in savings. Keep in mind that while you will see some decreases in some areas, you're also going to see gains in others. Due to your request, we also broke down the information by single member districts. What we looked at is breaking this information down to make the information more detailed to your individual district. What you're looking at now is an exemplar of District 1. Each of you will have access to your own district data when you click the link in the report that accompanies this presentation. Lastly, we looked at support for our employees. The most important thing that we can do for any staff member who is displaced by any budget-driven staffing change is to honor their service to SAISD and support them through the process. This week, we met with all faith specialists, all librarians to discuss displacement. The meeting went well. Each one lasted about 3 hours, and that was purposeful. We took the time to hear everyone out, answer all questions, provide all information, and we're going to continue to stay in touch with them. We even provided our personal cell phone numbers, so employees always have access to us 24/7. And we also, as a show of good faith and transparency, invited and allowed Alejandra Lopez from the Alliance to be a part of the librarian meeting. Afterwards, I did debrief with her. She expressed her appreciation. It was very complimentary of the time and the effort to hear all voices of the librarians. We explained to all affected staff they'd be given the priority for all positions and that HCM would work with them to find new positions as soon as possible. We also pledged white glove customer service to them to ensure that they had assistance with transition, even moving, transportation, whatever it may take. We want to certainly honor their work in this process. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please connect with us. We're happy to answer them. Have a great weekend. We look forward to seeing you on Monday night.